Working in retail is never easy, especially when you have to deal with a bunch of crazies. Welcome to this episode of Tales from Retail. Our first tale is from Qui Human Estalon. I sell pet food and supplies. We keep treats on the counter that people can buy as singles, dog biscuits, etc. On Monday, one of my least liked, I'll admit this, customers came in. They're usually pretty odd. Most of the staff don't like dealing with them, but are generally harmless. They took what I thought were 2 treats, didn't put them on the counter, just had them in one hand while they paid with the other. I told them the price. With tax, it was $1.55 CDN. They asked if that was really the price. I confidently replied yes. They were like, "That's too much. Normally it's less." Nope. For 2 of the 69-cent cookies, it's still $1.55. They stormed out, complaining it was too much. I can't change the price, and even if I could, I wouldn't, because I'm not a dishonest jerk. The prices are what they are, and I'm not going out of my way to overcharge anyone, no matter how much I dislike someone. I kind of laughed it off because this person is usually pretty annoying. Whatever. But then I thought about it later, and maybe they only had 1 cookie and that's why they were upset. But I didn't see the treats, so it could be either or. A simple misunderstanding on both our parts. Po Buddy's nerfed. Then yesterday, they came back to complain about me. They told my coworker that I need to get my act together, all over something that was less than $2. I think they're miffed at me because a few days earlier, I was on my way to the pharmacy that's located across the street from my store. I had headphones in, and I had my head down texting my husband about the day. I was barely paying attention to people around me. My body language clearly read, "Do not bother." As I passed them, I thought I faintly heard someone say hello, but I didn't think anything about it and kept walking. I think they were trying to be pleasant and greet me, but I didn't hear them and they thought I ignored them to be rude. Po Buddy's nerfed. I mean, maybe you were right. When you thought about it later, maybe they did only have 1 treat. Maybe they didn't have any treats. I mean, it's very possible for somebody to grab something, look like they're taking it, but have put it back. I've seen it happen. I'm not defending anybody here. I'm just saying, like you say, Po Buddy's nerfed. And I hope everybody had a good day after this. This next tale is by R Complex 25. About 5 years ago, I worked in the shoe department of a major sporting goods store in town. For some context, it was a tiny store in a strip mall, and my department took up the back wall. It wasn't a lot. The wall displayed a select number of styles, usually a good cross-section of stuff for men's, women's, and youth. The few shelves we had were stocked expertly by yours truly with what was on sale. The day was like any other day, stocking, dusting, etc. when he showed up. He looked like he had been under a car all day, his coveralls a mess with oil and grease stains. He came today looking for a new pair of shoes as the pair he was wearing looked like they had just about had it, so I showed him some of the work shoes we did carry when it happened. The moment he took off his ragged shoes, it hit me like Wile E. Coyote being struck by a boulder. The stench was abysmal, coupled with some underlying BO and the gut-churning smell of axle grease, created an unholy trio that would take the fight out of any grizzly bear in one whiff. The customer began to putter along the back wall, the stench leaving me reeling to the point I'm holding the shelf to steady myself. The customer, whom I'll call Mr. Feet, continued to ask this or that about shoes. Trying to keep professional composure, I did my best to answer without making it obvious I needed fresh air or that I was holding my breath. For 20 eye-watering minutes, Mr. Feet plodded along on my tile floor, scanning this and that. I was beginning to think he was trolling us as he wound up leaving without much more interaction. The moment he was out of sight, I rushed to the back room and got the cleaning supplies. I violently mopped the floor to get rid of the smell. From the front came a burst of air freshener, as the smell had permeated the tiny store and was choking the poor cashier at the front. We never saw Mr. Feet again, and in a bizarre irony, I ran into him years later. He now works in IT and was much better looking than when we met years prior. Thanks for reading, R. Now granted, it was when I was younger, in like high school and just out of high school, that people thought it was funny to troll others with their stinky feet. Maybe that's what he was doing here, but who knows, he genuinely might not have found a pair of shoes that worked for him, and decided to walk. This next tale is from Massive Grocery 7261. I've been working at a local chain thrift store for a few months. There have been a few rude and privileged customers, but nothing anywhere near as bad as today. My mom, grandma, and sister happen to be in the store today. At the store I work, there is 4 self-checkout areas and 1 checkout with a worker. I'm not completely sure why, but at this time, the person working the checkout was only accepting cash. This greatly angered 2 customers though. After a bit of back and forth, they walked over to the self-checkout right beside my family, yelling about how they will just do the employee's job for them, and crap like that. I don't know why it mattered though, because the self-checkout accepted cash and card. I was standing by my mom and sister, 6, who was about 2 feet away from them. The manager politely asked them to calm down or leave the store. These people must have had some serious issues because they kept getting louder and screaming worse and worse things at my manager. The guy walked over to the exit and the windows at the front of the store and started kicking and punching them and threatening the other workers. Their cart was full of large metal decor and paintings, so the lady grabbed a big painting and threw it to the ground, yelling about how she wants us to call the police. The glass broke and went flying everywhere. At that point, I really didn't want my little sister getting hurt by these crazy people, so I picked her up and brought her out the back of the store. After a few more minutes of yelling and breaking things, they eventually left. By the time I had went back inside, my manager and coworkers were on the phone with the police. Luckily, my sister understands that those people were crazy, and that's not how normal people act. She thinks it was funny. My mom and grandma have worked retail for 20 plus years, and they both say they have never seen people go that crazy before. One would argue, why were they freaking out in the first place? If they were still able to move over to self-checkout and check out, what, was it the inconvenience that they had to move registers? I don't understand people like this. I do think there was something mental going on with both of them though. Or drugs. Our next tale is by Pranky but Saintly. I've been with my new job at a retail chain for just under 2 months now, and earlier, I witnessed a customer get 86'd for the first time. I was working in self-checkout, and an older man in a motorized cart approached me and asked to speak with the manager. I replied, "Can you describe what happened, sir?" He then proceeded to allege that earlier in the day, he had accidentally left behind some items he had paid for and would like to retrieve them. I asked him if he had a receipt for the transaction in question. He did not. I told him, "I'll see what I can do," and began to walk off to get a manager. But before I had even gotten 3 steps away, one of my coworkers stormed over and told him very adamantly, "Sir, you're 86th from the store. You can't be here. You need to leave." This was when the man got extremely agitated. He refused to leave and continued to demand to see the manager, claiming that my coworker had no right to ask him to leave. She persisted in insisting he leave, getting more firm each time. He then began calling her a dumb bitch, and at that point, she started almost literally outright chasing him out. He made his way to the exit, but on his way out, repeatedly shouted "fuck you" at her, literally every step of the way. I look at it like a completely sane person would get home, put their groceries away, and realize that they paid for something that they don't have, then immediately proceed to call the store, not wait several hours and then just show up and then want to see a manager like this person. And our final tale is from Leather Skirt. It was another slow night at the customer service desk. I, 30 at the time female, and my coworker, 39 female, were talking and wasting time when a bagger, 17 female, suddenly appeared and announced, "There's a garbage bag full of weed in the parking lot." My coworkers and I looked at each other with delight. What an exciting twist to the evening. "Are you sure it's weed? Not like grass clippings or something?" "No, it's definitely weed." I went to the manager's office where two managers, 33 male and 42 female, were hanging out. Like I said, it was a slow night. Also worthy of noting, these were relatively cool managers who I was quite friendly with. I told them the baggers found a garbage bag of weed outside. Their reaction was the same as mine, and they instructed me to call the cops because they didn't know what to do with it. While I was doing this, my coworker went out to the parking lot to check it out. Me, on the phone with the police department. "Hi, I'm calling from this store and we found a garbage bag full of weed in the parking lot and we're not sure what we're supposed to do with it." "A bag full of what?" "Weed. Marijuana." "Well, it's legal, so we just throw it away. We can't really do anything about it. You can just throw it out." I relayed the conversation to my managers and expressed sadness at throwing away a garbage bag full of weed. I wondered if it was any good. They said to bring it in and we'd figure out what to do with it. I went back to the service desk and told my coworker and the bagger to bring it in. "It's in my car. Why did you tell them?" "Whoops. Is it any good?" "It's okay. I'll save you some." So she and the bagger went back out to her car, dumped about a third of it in her car before bringing the rest into the manager's office. It smelled pretty good and we all joked about getting a contact tie. Most of it was attached to branches, seemed like a whole mature plant inside the bag. After some deliberation, my managers decided they wouldn't put it in the trash, but would instead leave it outside in the back of the building, and whatever happened to it after that, they weren't concerned about. I took that as my cue to go on break and drive to the back of the building. My coworker said she took all that she wanted, so I took the rest home, made edibles with it, and sold most of the edibles to save money to move out of my boyfriend's house. The way this all just played out, it's like perfection, and I know I'm gonna get some people in the comments, "Oh, that happened," but believe it or not, some crazier things have happened. So this is slightly believable, especially if it's a plant that somebody already harvested and then they just threw out the rest. Alright, that's enough tales for the day. Well, that wraps up this episode of Tales from Retail. If you liked the video, please drop a like, share my content on all of your social media, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload, and drop a comment down below. It really helps with the algorithm and helps new people find my channel. Thanks for watching, thanks to my patrons, have a great day and stay safe out there.